Hello, we're going to look at solving two-step equations. So this time it's going to take more than one step to get the variable all by itself. So we're going to look at some examples that help you to understand how we do this. All right, first example, solve for x. 6x plus 2 equals 14. So again, our goal is to get x all by itself and then get a number on the other side. Right now we have a 6 and a 2 that happens to be there, so we have to figure out how do we go about doing this. Now, remember, order of operations is PEMDAS. When we're solving equations, you kind of go backwards of PEMDAS. And so in this case, notice the 6 and the x are next to each other, which means multiply. And then we have added 2 there. And so we want to go backwards. And so we're going to go ahead and start with addition or subtraction and get rid of that first. So we have a plus 2. So we want to do the opposite of what's there. We're going to subtract 2. But remember, we have to do it to both sides. So now we have 6x. 2 minus 2 is 0. 14 minus 2 is 12. All right, and we don't really need to put the plus 0. Now we're at 6x equals 12. And now we want to get rid of the 6. Remember, it's multiply, so the opposite operation would be divide by 6. 6 divided by 6 gives you 1x. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. And so there's our answer. Again, we can check our answer by plugging that 2 in for x. So we have 6 times 2 plus 2. And we want to see if that does equal 14. So then order of operations, 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14. It does equal the 14 that it says it does, so we are good. That is our answer. Next example, solve for x. X over 7 plus 9 equals 15. Same thing, we want to start with any addition or subtraction, get rid of that first. So it's plus 9. We're going to subtract 9 from both sides. We have x over 7. 9 minus 9 rather is 0. And then 15 minus 9. If you need to use a calculator, that is fine. We get 6. And the next step is that we want to get rid of the 7. Remember that fraction bar means divide, so it's x divided by 7. So the opposite of divide means multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 7. Again, this is really 7 over 1 times x over 7, so that the 7's cancel and we're left with x. 6 times 7 is 42, and so x equals 42. Next example, 8x over 7 plus 9 equals 30. This one looks similar to the one we just did, but let's take a look at it. So plus 9, we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. We have 8x over 7. 9 minus 9 is 0. 30 minus 9 is going to be 21. Now, again, we can look at this a couple different ways. So even though it says 8x over 7, 8x over 7 is the same as saying 8/7 x. Could look at it that way. Or you can break it into pieces, which would mean this would no longer be a 2-step, but a 3-step equation that we're trying to solve. But I do want you to see that you can recognize those as the same. If I do this in a process, then I would deal with the dividing part here. And so I'd multiply by the 7 to both sides. And again, at 7 over 1, so they cancel, you're left with 8x. And then 21 times 7 is 147. And this is where you would have that extra step. You would divide both sides by 8. And you would get 1x. And then 147 divided by 8 gives you a lovely decimal. However, it could be that they want this as a fraction. And so I am not, this is going to reduce if you left it as a fraction. 147 over 8 looks like it's as good as it gets. So either way, I mean, even though it looks like, oh, I need to go ahead and divide these two out, 147 divided by 8. Remember that also can be written like a fraction, so that's a perfectly good answer to leave it that way, unless the problem actually specifies that they want it as a decimal. And last one, this one's a little long because it's a word problem. So it says the difference of twice a number and 5 is 3. Translate the word problem to an equation which steps describe how to solve the equation. How to solve the equation. So notice this one isn't asking you to actually solve and figure out what the variable is equal to. It wants you to talk about the process. So first they want to go ahead and figure out what the equation is. Again, in this aspect, we want to look at it piece by piece to help figure out what that equation is. So first of all, it says the difference. So that means we are subtracting. And then it says, what are we subtracting? Twice a number. So let's look at that. Twice a number. We don't know what the number is, so we'll give it a letter, X, but twice. So twice means 2 times. So 2x, and we're subtracting that and 5. So 2x minus 5. And then the last part says is 3. So the word is means equal to 3. So there's our equation, but now we have to describe the steps in order to solve it. So the first step is we would have to, it's minus 5, so we would add 5 to both sides. That's the first step. And then the second step would be, like I said, we could divide by 2, right, on both sides, or you can also multiply by 1/2. Either way you want to look at it works, but just know that you might see something like this, multiply by 1/2, or it might say divide by 2. All right, that's it for this video. As you work on your lesson, if you have any questions, make sure to ask your teacher. Have a great day.